Welcome to BookTube English. Let's improve our English while exploring the most widely read books in the world. This channel features a variety of genres: self-help, business, health, religion, and spirituality, all organized into separate playlists. Do you ever find yourself completely exhausted from worrying about someone else? I mean, truly drained, where their problems feel more real and more urgent than your own? Do you feel like your happiness, your peace of mind, is completely dependent on another person's choices, their mood, or their sobriety? Maybe you find yourself constantly trying to fix, manage, or control situations for a loved one, putting their needs so far ahead of your own that you've honestly forgotten what you even want or need for yourself. If any of this sounds familiar, if you've ever felt lost in the drama of someone else's life, then you are in exactly the right place today. Because we are about to dive into a book that is not just a book, but a cultural phenomenon, a lifeline that has helped millions of people find their way back to themselves. Today, we are exploring Codependent No More: How to Stop Controlling Others and Start Caring for Yourself, by the incredible Melody Beattie. This isn't just another self-help book. This is a modern classic that literally gave a name to a struggle that millions were experiencing in silence. It holds the key to understanding a concept called codependency and, more importantly, unlocking its powerful grip on your life. First published over 35 years ago, its message is so timeless and so necessary that it continues to be a massive bestseller. We're talking about a book with over 18,000 ratings on Amazon, a stellar 4.13 out of 5 on Goodreads from nearly 50,000 readers, and it was even named one of the 4 essential self-help books of all time by Newsweek. Just recently, the revised and updated version, which we're looking at today, won the 2023 Nautilus Book Award and was featured on Glennon Doyle's hugely popular podcast, We Can Do Hard Things. This book isn't just relevant, it's more critical now than ever before. So what is this codependency that the book talks about? At its core, the book describes it as losing yourself in the name of helping another. It's a pattern of behavior where you become so entangled in someone else's problems, often a spouse, a child, a parent, or a friend dealing with addiction, illness, or just self-destructive behavior, that you lose sight of your own life. Your focus shifts entirely from your own well-being to theirs. You become a caretaker, a manager, a controller, but in the process, the person you stop taking care of is you. The book is a compassionate and deeply insightful guide that walks you through this realization. It helps you understand that you are ultimately powerless to change anyone but yourself. And it shows you step by step that true healing, real freedom, begins when you turn that caring energy back towards the most important person in your life. Before we go any deeper into the book's concepts, I think it's absolutely essential to talk about the author, Melody Beattie. Because to understand the power of this book, you need to understand the woman who wrote it. Her story isn't just one of academic knowledge, it's one of profound lived experience. Melody Beattie is not just a writer, she is a survivor. Time magazine once said, "Beattie understands being overboard," which helps her throw best-selling lifelines to those still adrift. That quote perfectly captures her essence. Melody's life has been marked by almost unimaginable hardship. She has survived abandonment by her father as a toddler, being kidnapped by a stranger at age 4, and enduring years of sexual abuse as a child. She speaks of her mother as a classic codependent, someone who believed in suffering and denied the reality of the abuse happening in her own home. To cope with this immense emotional pain, Melody turned to self-medication. She started drinking at age 12, was an alcoholic by 13, and addicted to drugs by 18. Despite this, she was a bright student and graduated with honors, living a double life. She fell in with a crowd that robbed pharmacies for drugs, leading to several arrests. Her turning point came when a judge gave her a stark choice: treatment for as long as it takes or jail. Even in treatment, she continued to use drugs until she experienced what she calls a profound spiritual awakening. In her words, she was on the lawn when the world turned this purplish color. Everything looked connected, like a Monet painting. It wasn't a hallucination. It was a moment of clarity. She realized that if she put even half the energy into doing the right thing as she had into doing wrong, she could achieve anything. After 8 months, she left treatment, clean and sober, with new goals: to help others get sober and to have a family. She married a respected counselor who was also a former alcoholic, and they had 2 children. But even without drugs or alcohol, she found herself sinking back into despair. The life she had built felt like a trap. She soon discovered the devastating truth: her husband wasn't sober. He had been secretly drinking and lying about it since before they were even married. This is where the seeds of Codependent No More were planted. While working with the spouses of addicts, she had a powerful realization. The deep, gnawing pain she felt wasn't just about her husband's drinking, it was about her. The same issues that had driven her to alcoholism were still there, just in a different form. There wasn't a mainstream word for it yet, but she was living it. She became passionate about understanding this phenomenon. What was this thing we were doing to ourselves, this pattern of reacting and obsessing? Driven to the brink financially by her husband's alcoholism, she turned her lifelong passion for writing into a career. And in 1986, Codependent No More was published. It introduced the term codependency to the world and resonated so deeply with people that it became an international bestseller, selling millions of copies and being translated into numerous languages. Her story of resilience doesn't end there. In 1991, she faced what is perhaps a parent's worst nightmare. Her 12-year-old son, Shane, died in a tragic skiing accident. The grief almost destroyed her. She said, "I wanted to die, but I kept waking up alive." Incredibly, she eventually picked up the pieces of her life once again, channeling her pain into understanding and teaching others about grief. I wanted to share her story in such detail because it's the foundation of this book's authenticity. When Melody Beattie writes about pain, addiction, control, and the desperate need to care for oneself, she knows what she's talking about. She has been there, in the darkest of trenches, and she found a way out. This book is the map she drew for the rest of us. It's not a theoretical text. It's a lifeline thrown from someone who truly understands what it feels like to be adrift. Now, let's talk about what you'll find inside the book itself. Codependent No More is structured as a gentle, guiding hand. It's filled with personal reflections from Melody's own life, instructive stories from the lives of people she's counseled, and practical exercises designed to help you identify your own codependent patterns. It's not about blame or shame. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about recognizing these behaviors for what they are, survival mechanisms that may have served you in the past but are now holding you back. The book helps you understand the characteristics of a codependent person. Things like an exaggerated sense of responsibility for others' feelings, a tendency to confuse love with pity, a need to be needed in order to have a relationship, and a deep-seated fear of abandonment. It teaches you how to break these old destructive patterns. A huge part of the book is dedicated to the concept of detachment, which we'll discuss more with the quotes. It's about learning to emotionally and sometimes physically step back from the problems that are not yours to solve. It's about setting healthy boundaries, learning to say no without guilt and yes to your own needs. And what's fantastic about this revised and updated edition is the addition of an all-new chapter on trauma and anxiety. Melody recognized that codependency is often deeply intertwined with past trauma, and that the constant worry and need to control creates immense anxiety. This new chapter makes the book even more powerful and relevant for today's readers, acknowledging the complex layers of our emotional health. Ultimately, the book offers a clear, achievable path, not just away from codependency, but towards a life of healing, hope, freedom, and genuine happiness. So, what do everyday readers, the people who have actually bought and used this book, have to say? Across thousands of reviews, a few key themes emerge. Readers overwhelmingly describe the book as readable, enlightening, and life-changing. Many say it's written in simple, accessible language that breaks down complex psychological concepts into terms that are easy to understand and apply to their own lives. People find the real-life stories incredibly relatable, often saying they saw themselves or their own situations reflected in the pages, which made them feel less alone. The feeling of being seen is a powerful part of the healing process the book offers. Many appreciate that it provides a clear background on codependency and a gentle framework for healing. On the other hand, for a balanced view, some readers mention that the book has a heavy reliance on religious or spiritual themes, specifically a higher power, and many examples are drawn from the world of alcoholism. While for many this is a core part of the recovery process, it's something to be aware of if that's not your background. But even with that, the vast majority of readers find the core message to be universally helpful and worth the price. Now, we come to my favorite part of any book discussion, the part where we pull out the golden threads of wisdom. Let's explore 3 of the most powerful and transformative quotes from Codependent No More. These are the sentences that stop you in your tracks and make you see your entire world in a new light. Our first quote is the very definition that anchors the entire book. Melody Beattie writes, "A codependent person is one who has let another person's behavior affect them and who is obsessed with controlling that other person's behavior." Let's break that down because it's so deceptively simple yet so profound. It has 2 essential parts. The first is, has let another person's behavior affect them. Now, on the surface, this sounds normal. Of course we are affected by the people we love. If someone is sad, we feel empathy. If someone is happy, we feel joy. But that's not what she means here. In the context of codependency, affect means something much deeper and more consuming. It means their mood dictates your mood. Their bad day ruins your day. Their choices become a direct reflection of your worth. If they fail at something, you feel like a failure for not helping them enough. If they are angry, you immediately assume it's your fault and scramble to fix it. Your emotional state is no longer your own. It's a mirror reflecting someone else's. You've given the remote control for your feelings to another person. The second part of the quote is equally crucial, and who is obsessed with controlling that other person's behavior. This is the active part of codependency. It's the doing.
This obsession with control can look like many different things. It can be overt, like constantly giving unsolicited advice, creating detailed plans for their life, or checking up on them. It can be subtle, like using guilt or manipulation to get them to do what you think is best for them. It's trying to manage their finances, their relationships, their sobriety, their career. You become the director, the producer, and the script writer for their life's movie, all while your own movie isn't even being filmed. This obsession comes from a place of fear of what will happen if you don't control things. But the book shows us that this control is an illusion. You can't control another human being, and the attempt to do so will only lead to resentment, frustration, and exhaustion for everyone involved. This definition is so brilliant because it's not a judgment. It's a clear, clinical description of a pattern. It helps you step back and say, oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm being affected to an unhealthy degree, and I'm trying to control the uncontrollable. Recognizing that pattern is the first giant leap towards freedom. Next, let's move on to a quote that offers the solution, the primary tool for breaking that pattern. This is a concept that many people struggle with at first, but it is the key to healing. Beattie writes, detachment is based on the premises that everyone is responsible for themselves, that we can't solve problems that aren't ours to solve, and that worrying doesn't help. When people first hear the word detachment, they often think it means being cold, uncaring, or emotionally distant. They think, how can I detach from someone I love so much? But Melody Beattie reclaims this word and gives it a beautiful, healthy new meaning. Detachment in this context is not about not caring. In fact, it is an act of profound love and respect. It's loving someone enough to honor their own life path, even if it's a painful one. It's respecting them enough to believe they have the strength to handle their own problems. Let's look at the 3 premises she lays out. First, everyone is responsible for themselves. This is a radical idea for a codependent person who has been taught or has taught themselves that they are responsible for everyone else. This premise gives you permission to lay down that heavy burden. You are responsible for your happiness, your choices, your reactions. They are responsible for theirs. It draws a clear, healthy boundary. Second, we can't solve problems that aren't ours to solve. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to fix things that are fundamentally outside of our control. You can't make an addict get sober. You can't make your partner happy. You can't fix your adult child's financial mistakes. You can offer support, you can offer love, but you cannot solve their core problems for them. Trying to do so is like trying to do their push-ups for them. It doesn't make them any stronger. This premise frees you from the impossible task of being someone else's savior. And third, worrying doesn't help. This one is huge. How many hours have been lost to anxious, circular thinking about someone else's what-ifs? Worrying feels productive. It feels like you're doing something, like you're showing you care. But as the book points out, worry is a complete misuse of imagination. It doesn't prevent bad things from happening. It doesn't solve problems. All it does is steal your peace and your joy in the present moment. Detachment is the act of choosing peace over worry. It's accepting that you've done what you can, and now you must release the outcome. It's the difference between drowning with someone and standing on the solid ground of the shore, ready to throw them a lifeline if they choose to grab it. This quote gives you permission to get back on shore. And now for our final quote. This one, for me, gets to the absolute heart of the matter. It deals with the deep-seated issue of self-worth that sits beneath all codependent behavior. Beattie delivers this powerful truth. We don't have to take other people's behaviors as reflections of our self-worth. This is the ultimate mic drop moment of self-discovery. Let this one sink in for a moment. For so many of us, especially those with codependent tendencies, we do this unconsciously, all day, every day. Someone is in a bad mood, and our first thought is, what did I do? Someone criticizes us, and we crumble, believing their words define our value. A loved one makes a self-destructive choice, and we feel a deep sense of shame, as if their choice is a direct statement about our failure as a partner, a parent, or a friend. We have tethered our sense of self, our very identity, to the actions, words, and moods of other people. And that is a terrifyingly unstable place to live. This quote is a declaration of independence for your soul. It says that you can and you must untie your self-worth from the unpredictable and uncontrollable behavior of others. Another person's behavior is about them. It's a reflection of their history, their pain, their fears, their level of self-awareness, their choices. It is information about them, not a final verdict on you. Think of it like this. If a stranger on the street yells at you, you might be startled or annoyed, but you likely wouldn't go home and think, I must be a terrible person because that stranger yelled at me. You would probably think, wow, that person must be having a really bad day. You instinctively understand that their behavior is about them. This quote asks you to apply that same logic to the people closest to you. Their anger, their disappointment, their choices, it's their stuff. You don't have to absorb it into your being and let it define you. Embracing this idea is a practice. It means when someone acts out, you learn to pause and say to yourself, this is their behavior. This is not about my worth. It means you can still have compassion for them without taking their emotional state on as your own. It allows you to stay centered and whole regardless of the storms raging around you. It's the ultimate act of self-care and the foundation upon which you can build a life where your value comes from within, unshakable and unconditional. So, who is this book really for? It's for anyone who has ever felt that their life was hijacked by someone else's problems. It's for the people pleasers, the fixers, the ones who feel an overwhelming sense of responsibility for everyone's happiness but their own. It's for those in relationships with people struggling with addiction, mental illness, or chronic irresponsibility. But it's also for anyone who grew up in a dysfunctional family and learned that their role was to be the good one, the peacemaker, or the caretaker. It's for anyone who feels they've lost their own identity, their own voice in the process of loving someone else. If you're ready to stop the endless cycle of worry, control, and emotional exhaustion and start a journey back to yourself, then this book is, without a doubt, for you. And there you have it, a deep dive into the life-changing wisdom of Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. It's a book that doesn't just offer information, it offers transformation. It's a compassionate guide that gives you the language to understand your own patterns and the tools to create a healthier, freer, and more joyful life. If this video resonated with you, or if you found it helpful in understanding the book, or even just the concept of codependency, please give it a like. It really helps the channel reach more people who might need to hear this message.
And if you know someone who is struggling in this way, consider sharing this video with them. Don't forget to subscribe to BookTube English for more deep dives into the world's most widely read and impactful books. And now, I really want to hear from you. The comment section is our community space. Have you read Codependent No More? What was your biggest takeaway? Or perhaps you have another life-changing book recommendation that has helped you on your own journey. Please share your thoughts and suggestions below. I read every comment and I love learning from you all. Thank you so much for joining me today and for investing this time in yourself. Until next time, happy reading.